Namaste, welcome, welcome. Let's have everything that we need for our yin practice today. The yin practice for today is a yin practice for grief and loss. And it could be a practice that marks the end of a relationship, the changing nature of a friendship, the end of a season, the end of a period of your life, the loss of someone, either on their passing or perhaps through the natural evolution of the relationship. And this is a practice that we can turn to in times of loneliness, in times of despair, times of grief. So we're going to bring some extra layers of comfort and safety to ourselves today. So as usual, have available your bolster or bolster equivalent, a couple of blankets, and I really recommend a heavy blanket today because we're going to place a blanket across our heart. If you have sandbags, you never know. I don't mean the ones in the garden, but small sandbags, or even like a bag of rice or something that's heavy that you can wrap up in a towel and put some weight on. It's a really comforting addition to your practice. And I can talk more about that in a while. And your blocks. I have a candle today for my memory of my loved one. And so you might want to light a candle, have that sort of within your sight. I'm going to move that in a moment so that we don't want to catch a light during our practice. So make sure your candle is safe. Let's come into Sukhasana for the moment to start with. Cross-legged, perhaps you're sitting on a blanket or a cushion. I'm wearing my thick, warm, cozy socks and a sweater. And let's bring our thumb and index to touch. Palms face down. Lengthen through your spine. Closing your eyes or gazing down towards the earth. Let's take a moment here and connect with the waves of our breath. The way in which our breath flows in and flows out, like the ebb and flow of the tide. And often when we experience grief or loss or bereavement, whether it is of a person, a place, a time remembered and now gone, we might feel that in waves of emotion. So think about how as we breathe in, we also breathe out. As the grief arrives in the heart space, we can also release it from the heart space. Waves of breath, waves of emotion, ebb and flow, not constant, perhaps unpredictable. And if you have a candle, perhaps you hold the candle in your left hand and then place your right hand underneath. Or if you don't have a candle available, you can hold the left palm with the right palm and visualize here in the palm of the left hand a candle, allowing the warmth of the candle flame to rise up. Perhaps the scent of the candle to rise up. And sensing in this warmth, sensing in the presence of the scent, the presence of the candle, the presence of the light and its warmth, your memories. Allow your heart to fill with warmth, with this sense of what was, recognizing that it is no more. And yet forever you hold a candle in your heart for whatever it is that has now passed. It is the nature of life, the coming, the going, the passing, the impermanence of life. One more full breath here, holding in your mind's eye an image symbolic of the person, the place, the time, now gone. Fill your heart with the warmth of that memory, knowing that even as the memory fills us with warmth, it also fills us with a sense of loss, that it has now gone, just as the seasons pass from one to the next, as the leaves fall from the trees, the flower loses its petals. This is the nature of being, the nature of impermanence. Gazing down towards your candle. And a practice that I like to do is to just wave my hand over the candle 3 times. And then over my eyes and wash it over my head. So that you bathe yourself in the warmth of this memory, the warmth of this presence. And then place your candle where it will be safe during your practice. Our first asana that we're going to come into is butterfly, reclined butterfly. So we're going to create a little angled flower pillow or bolster or rolled up duvet. So what you can do is create a platform at one edge. If you have blocks, you can use your blocks. You can also stack up some heavy books or have a footstool there so that you place one end of your pillow or bolster on your block. Then just check that it's secure. It will hold your weight as long as your blocks or your whatever props you use are safe. So you might want to have a little pillow for your head at the top of it. So I'm going to place a little cushion there. Have a blanket that you can cover yourself with. And have your eye pillow ready. Now, what I really love doing with my eye pillow is having a few drops of essential oil just on the side that I'm not going to put over my eyes. And for grief and loss, peppermint, eucalyptus, cardamom, lemon, those kind of scents are very reassuring when we're feeling grief. They're relaxing, they ease the anxiety of loss. Soles of your feet together. Now, if you wish, you can always place a couple of extra blankets underneath your knees. So I'm going to choose to place this cushion on the other side so my knees are supported. My lower back is right up against the bolster. And with supporting hands, I lower myself down so that my head rests on my cushion. My chin is slightly tucked. I have my knees supported by folded up blankets or cushions. My soles of my feet are together. And my blanket. So I want a really heavy sensation across my heart. So I'm going to place my blanket across my heart so it protects me Gives me a sense of security, almost as if I'm getting a hug from my blanket. And if you wish, you can cover your eyes with your eye pillow or a scarf. And arms alongside your body, palms face up, fingers gently curled. Tuck your chin so you have plenty of space at the back of your neck. Reclined by the Konasan or supported by the Konasan, butterfly pose. And we'll just open up here with this butterfly pose. Just coming into this sense of security, safety, giving ourselves some emotional comfort, settling into this practice. And perhaps your connection today with your affirmation is I am loved. I am supported. I hold dearly my precious memories. I loved. I supported. I created precious memories. I am loved. I am supported. I hold my precious memories dearly. I loved. I supported. I created precious memories. You'll be here for another 3 minutes. So soften through your arms, your shoulders, your neck, the palms, the fingers, the knees, the ankles, the toes, the hips, the pelvis, the back, the abdomen, the heart. You're here for another 1.5 minutes. And bring to mind the light, the warmth, the glow of your candle. Know that your breath, as it arrives and leaves, is the promise of what will be. The breath connects the past with the future in this very present moment. One more breath here. And then with great care, with helping hands, perhaps you roll onto your side or with helping hands pressed firmly into the earth. Keeping your chin tucked in, begin to rise up from your bolster or pillow, moving very slowly. Wherever you are here, let's take a moment to reconnect with our breath, our heart. We're working today with the lung and large intestine meridians. The lung is connected with grief. It is the source of pure energy that helps us to see ourselves, to see others in their pure essence, that raw metal. The element metal in TCM is connected with these two organs and meridians. The large intestine is connected to sadness, but it also helps us to process that emotion. So the lung meridian helps us to feel the grief. The large intestine helps us to process. So let's take a moment to gentle pulsations tap along the meridians of the lung and the large intestine. So let's start with the lung meridian. So taking your right hand first, and we'll tap down the left arm. So tap here at the sternum, the breastbone, with 4 fingertips, tapping, I am loved. And then traveling up towards the collarbone. And let's travel along the left side of the collarbone to the top of the shoulder. And then along the inside of the arm, so down the inside of the arm, the lung meridian is the yin meridian. And then pause at the elbow. And I'm using all of my 4 fingertips here. And again, pause at the wrist. I loved. Taking it to the thumb. So the lung meridian travels from the mid-lateral ribs up towards the throat space and then across the shoulder and down the inside of the arm to the thumb. Now let's turn our hand over and start at the index finger. We're working with the large intestine. This is the yang meridian. So remember, there's always yin yang pairings of the meridians. The yin is the cooler energy, and the yang is the more dynamic energy, the one that works much harder. So the yin is where we can sit with an emotion, recognize it, work with it. And then the yang part is the processor. It's the energy that transforms or heals or addresses, processes that emotion. So again, as we travel up the outside of the arm, pausing at the wrist, the elbows, going up to the shoulder again and the left collarbone, and then just tap round to the back of your shoulder. So going to the back of your neck here. And then back round to the front. And then let's tap underneath the lower lip with 2 fingers above the upper lip and to the side of the nostrils. And perhaps we tap in the inner edges of our eyebrows, middle of the forehead, the outer edges of our eyes, underneath the eyes. So the large intestine actually finishes at the border of the nostril, but while we're up at our face, when you feel grief, especially if you've been crying, you can feel a really strong intensity of the emotion in your head. So tapping around here will help to relieve some of that pressure that we might be feeling. Now let's travel down the other side, and then we'll come back into our next pose. So let's go down the inside of the right arm. We did start at the heart space. We didn't start at the heart space. and then to the top of the shoulder, traveling down the inside of the right arm. We're going to go all the way to the thumb, pausing perhaps at your inside of your elbow, inside of your wrist a few times. Now turn your hand and let's travel from the index all the way up the outside of the arm. I am supported. I supported. I am supported. I supported. Inside of the collarbone, travel to the back of the neck. And then again underneath the lip, upper lip, nostrils, inside of the eyebrows, perhaps the area by the third eye, outside of the eyebrows, underneath the eyes. I open to love. I offered love. Now, you have your bolster already set up, so we're going to move into a forward fold butterfly now. So leaving your pillow where it was, hopefully you haven't moved it too much. So let's come up. So take your legs either side of your pillow. Now, you might have it so that you can bring the soles of your feet together, or if not, because it's too wide, that's fine. Just have your feet slightly apart then. And again, you have the option of placing something underneath your knees so it feels comfortable. Now, you might need a pillow or not this time because you're facing forward onto your bolster or large pillow. What we are going to do is we're going to take our eye pillow, if we have one available, and our folded blanket. And when you're ready, let's fold forward and just rest your eyebrow center there for a moment. And then take your blanket and place it on your shoulders. And your eye pillow, I like to place it on the back of my neck. So I have my blanket on my shoulders, my shoulder blades, back of my heart space. And my eye pillow, I'm using that on the back of my neck. My eyebrow center is connected with the pillow or bolster. I'm holding onto my toes here. So I can even give them a little massage here. And again, you can always put a few drops of essential oils that you have, or perhaps even some leaves that you might have. Bay leaves, mint leaves, slightly crushed, so you can take in the scent. Perhaps you have scented candles, so that those waves of the breath on which we might feel grief or loss or sadness, there is a hint of a scent that connects us with the physical sensation of the breath arriving in our body to remind us to continue to breathe through these emotions. This myriad of feelings that arise, sometimes in unexpected moments. And at those moments, if you have that same scent available, you can dab it on your pulse points or take a breath in. And it brings you right back into this moment of restorative wellness in which you allow the grief to be present, but you are able to hold that grief in a way that it serves you to connect with positive memories, of loved memories, of cherished and precious memories. And allow yourself to feel the warmth of the love of that person, the feelings of joy of a place perhaps, the connection with an object or a thing of the past that was meaningful to you. So sometimes when we break something special, we can feel really sad, not because necessarily of what it is, but because of what it represents for us in terms of our history, our connection, our emotional connection. We'll have one more minute here in forward fold butterfly. Soften here. And notice how, when you connect your hands with a part of your body, whether it's your legs, your feet, or the earth, visualize, channel the meridians of energy flowing, of chi flowing, or pran in Indian yogic philosophy, or chi in TCM. And how this energy flows back and forth, the ebb and flow of this energy in the same way that your breath ebbs and flows. One more breath here. Removing the eye pillow from the back of your neck. As you inhale, tuck your chin and begin to unfurl your spine one vertebrae at a time. And if you have a blanket on the back, allow it to fall away. Slide your hands along your legs to really sense the physical connection. And so let's move away from our bolster and turn your hip, one hip to the bolster. So I'm turning my left hip to the bolster, and that way I can keep facing you. We're going to come into our rotation. So if you have your left hip, you have your left shin parallel to the long edge and your right leg behind you. Again, folding that, bending that knee, folding that leg so the heel is not too far from your hip. If you happen to be turned the other way, then you'll have your right shin in front. We're going to swap and do both sides. And again, let's have your blankets available and your eye pillows. Now, if you have two blankets, that's really great for this pot, and it will look a bit odd. So I'm actually going to cover my head with a blanket as if I'm wearing a cowl or a sort of a hoodie or something. So let's have those blankets available. Turn your heart onto your bolster, lengthen your sternum so that it connects with the bolster. And then I have my left ear on the bolster because I have my left knee and I'm facing my left side. If you have your right knee in front, then you might be on your right ear. Now, this is where I like to place a folded blanket on my abdomen, and then this blanket over my head. So it sort of creates a cave. And you'll still have a gap, so it won't affect your breath because you have it folded and there will be a space between where your pillow is and the earth. So it'll be like, you know, when children create tents to play under, they drape a blanket. So this will be just draped over your head, but you'll create, if it's folded, it won't drape all the way down to the earth, which means you have lots of space to breathe. And it just creates the most delicious sensation of warmth, of protection, this sort of dark haven And when I was talking about that intensity of emotion, which comes with grief, with that floods of sadness, perhaps we can sometimes feel. And it can feel very intense in our head. Then this pressure of the blanket, that very gentle pressure of the blanket, can feel really comforting. Your palms are face down. We'll be here for another minute. And this is where we're caring for ourselves, caring for the whole self. When we feel loss or are bereaved or experience grief, we neglect to take care of ourselves. We may lose our appetite. We may not sleep very well. We may be feeling lost and confused. Perhaps there's regrets and guilt. And so in that midst of those strong emotions, we can become exhausted. So taking time for self-care, connecting with your physical sensations so that you're not feeling overwhelmed by the emotional sensations. This gives you some respite when you focus on the physical care. One more breath here. And then with helping hands, perhaps you remove your blanket from your head first. And then rising up and coming up to your seat here. Stay here with your legs in this formation. And let's place the right hand on our blanket or on the earth. And then let's reach up and over with the left arm. Let's take the left hand to the back of the head. So the occipital, where your head, your skull curves round, hold that in your palm. Dropping that right ear towards the right shoulder. One more breath here. We're not here for very long. And then let's return to neutral. Release the left hand. And now we're going to switch the hip round so that we bring the opposite hip against our bolster. So gently and with minimal movement, crossing over to the other side. So it probably is just a matter of swinging your knees across gently. So now I have my right hip to the bolster, my right shin parallel to the long edge, my left foot just a few inches away from my left hip, left buttock. So I have everything ready. Now I'm going to bring my right ear to the bolster. And if you're doing it the other way around, you'll be bringing the left ear to the bolster. That's the same side as the knee. So coming down with your sternum, then placing your covering over your head, and then really allowing your body to hug the bolster or the pillow. Drop your weight into your bolster or pillow. Trust it to hold you. And let's have your palms face down, connected with the earth. And perhaps again you have that heavy blanket across the lower abdomen here, just below the ribs. We can allow the emotions to move through us so that we can integrate with the emotions. Sometimes when the emotions wash over us, they can overwhelm us, break us perhaps, disempower us. We want to invite the emotions to help us to feel integrated. So guiding the emotion, creating these moments when you can allow your emotions to rise naturally. Just as we carve out time in our day for other activities, we can carve out time in our day for time when we labor through the grief. We seek to heal the grief. Knowing that the grief is with us all day, the loss is with us all day, but we can make time for it so that we can care for our emotions and care for ourselves, rather than pretending that we can carry on as usual. 3 more breaths here. And then removing your head covering. With helping hands coming up to neutral spine with the crown lifted. And this time let's place our left hand on the mat on a folded blanket and reach up and over with the right hand and cupping the back of the skull, the back of the head with the right palm. Right elbow reaching up. Left ear dropping down towards the left shoulder. Gazing down towards the earth, perhaps. Three more breaths here. And then let's bring our spine back to neutral and then release the right hand. So undoing that movement we had. And now let's turn on our mat so we're in the same direction. So we have our lower back against the bolster. So it's really handy today. We don't have to move our bolster or pillows too much once we've got them created. Now again, you might want to have that cushion at the top of your bolster or pillow for your head. We're going to move into a sort of half saddle. So there'll be a couple of options. I just want to put that there for a moment. So we're going to fold back one leg, and let's fold back our left leg first. See how that feels in the knee. If that does not feel comfortable at all for your knee, then you can always keep your foot flat on the earth and keep that knee bent. See how it feels. And remember, you don't have to have it right tucked up close to you. You can have it somewhere. You can have it right near your left hip, or you can have it a little bit out. So it gives you a bit more space in that knee. See what feels comfortable for you. Now, let's have the right foot flat on the earth, knee bent. So you might actually end up having both knees bent if this left knee doesn't feel comfortable here. And we're going to recline onto our bolster or pillow. So make sure that it's high enough for what you need. If that's too low, place it against your sofa or the end of your bed so that it's more upright. You don't have to have it at such an acute angle. You can have it so it's more upright. And then lower yourself with care onto your bolster. Now here your heart space is opened. So this is where I'm going to take my folded blanket. And I'm going to, or if I had a sand block, I'd place that here. Or a bag of rice, place it on my heart. If you wish, you can again cover your eyes. And then let's rest here in half saddle pose. Your arms can be on the earth or they can be overhead, holding your right hand, perhaps holding your left wrist overhead. Yogi's choice. If you get pins and needles in your arms, then always lower them back down towards the earth. I'm going to read a poem by ozanihu for grief. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you becomes fragile. Your thoughts make your eyes unsure. And some dead echo drags your voice down where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss. And though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows what has been taken from you when the silence of absence deepens. Flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. Then there are days when you wake up happy, again inside the fullness of life, until the moment breaks and you are thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you're able to function well, until in the middle of work or an encounter, suddenly with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself. All you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself. Take a moment here before I read the rest of the poem. I'm going to invite you to swap your legs over. So if you can manage this quite comfortably while you're staying grounded on the bolster or pillow with your spine, you can slide your left leg from out underneath you. And perhaps you might feel like you wouldn't want to stretch it, flex the heel a little bit by extending the leg. And then bend into your left knee, place the left foot on the earth. So let's tuck in the right foot alongside our right hip. If that feels comfortable, then you can stay there. If you do that and you decide it doesn't feel comfortable, you can untuck that right foot and place it flat on the earth with your knees bent. And again, let's set yourself up with your pillows, with your blanket, and your eye pillow. Blanket on your heart space, eye pillow covering your eyes. Right leg folded underneath you, that right foot alongside your right hip, or perhaps a little bit further out. Left foot is connected with the earth, knee bent, so it's acting as a scaffold. It becomes hard to trust yourself. All you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself. More than you know, it knows its way and will find the right time to pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced it to its last drops. Gradually, you will learn acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed. And when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal. And you will have learnt to wean your eyes from that gap in the air and be able to enter the hearth into your soul where your loved one has awaited your return all the time. In your soul where your loved one has awaited your return all the time. One more minute here in half saddle on the right side. And now, let's release that right leg. So perhaps you can slide your right foot out from underneath you, extend your leg long, flex up the heel, toes up. That will help to allow the energy to flow around the knee where you had the bend. And then perhaps you bring your knee back up, windshield wiper them from left to right. And with helping hands, let's rise up. And now we're going to move into, let's move into melting heart pose. So we're going to rearrange our pillow or bolster. So we move everything out of the way. And we can use this pillow or bolster to rest our heart space on. So let's come onto your knees. Now, if you wish to pad your knees, that will be a lovely experience for you. Remember, the hips stay above the knees. And then roll your pillow or bolster to where it will rest. So when you lower your heart, you're resting directly on your pillow or bolster, and perhaps you need to lift it and raise it up a little bit. And the other thing that would be very nice here is if you create a little cushion for your head. So I'm going to have a block with a cushion on it, and I'll see how that feels, and then I may lower it or raise it until I'm comfortable. Yeah. So this feels quite comfortable for me. You want to make sure that you feel like you've got plenty of space here. Your arms are reaching out. I've got a bend in my elbows, but you can have more extended arms if you wish. And remember, if it doesn't feel comfortable at the heart space, you can just add another layer so that your back bend is less intense. And you can also place your eye pillow in the back of your neck. So you don't need to have fancy yoga props at all. You make do with the cushions, blankets, and pillows you have in your home. Remember, at any point in your practice, you can inhale some more of your essential oils, add some more to your pulse points. That will help you reconnect with your senses. And when we reconnect with our senses, we come back into this present moment from wherever we have been. We're here for another 2 minutes. Your practice, especially when we cover the heart or we apply some gentle pressure, either by bringing our heart to rest on something or just something slightly heavier on our heart space, This helps us to invite a sense of closure or protection to the heart, so that we can drop into a sense of safety as we navigate these complex and difficult emotions associated with grief. Some of the myriad of feelings that we might experience are difficult for us, such as shock and disbelief, perhaps anger and guilt. So therefore, we need to protect ourselves as we work through the process of grief. 3 more full breaths here. And then with helping hands, bringing your sit bones right back onto your heels. Let's take a moment in child's pose. You can have your arms alongside you. You can have your eyebrows center resting on a cushion or a folded blanket. And we're going to transition into our Shavasana. Thinking about what we're going to use to bring extra support to us. So already I pretty much have my props set up as I would like them for my Shavasana. So I'm going to use my bolster or my large pillow underneath my knees. I'm going to place my feet on my cushion. So I might just add another block there so it's a bit more stable. So a couple of cushions there. Got my folded blanket ready. And this blanket I have on my knees, I could always roll it up and have it underneath the back of my heart space, or I could just have my heart space directly on the earth. So let's settle ourselves in here. So take your time to make yourself comfortable. So have your feet raised up slightly. So that could be just a couple of cushions, could be, like boxes that you have in the house. Because you've not got much weight down there, so you could put anything you like on there. I'm going to have this folded blanket under here. I'm just going to bring my candle somewhere safe, so I'll put it there. It's fairly safe there. And I'm going to lower myself. So making sure that So because I've got this gently folded blanket underneath my heart space, so that feels great. Means that my head will be just slightly lower and my throat will be a little bit open here. You might not want to have that experience of openness, and that's fine. So then remove that blanket from underneath you. And then I'm going to use this folded blanket or something slightly heavier on my heart space. And as usual, I have my head inside my dog bed. And my eye pillow covering my eyes. My arms away from my body. I might just have a dab of my essential oil. Perhaps if I have lavender, I might put a couple of drops on my folded blanket that's on my heart space. If I was lying in my bed, I would drop some lavender drops onto my pillow. So I like mixing lavender with peppermint. Just a couple of drops, slightly more lavender than peppermint. So I don't want to zap myself awake. So here you are in your Shavasana. And I'm going to read a poem to you here in Shavasana. Another John O'Donoghue poem. There's not a moment that there isn't a poem he's written that will not be helpful and supportive. Though we need to weep your loss, you dwell in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn, brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark, a further adventure of color. The sound of your voice found for us new music that brightened everything. Whatever you enfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder at things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was alive, awake, complete. We looked towards each other no longer. From the old distance of our names, now you dwell inside the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything, to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. We would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winter has turned to spring. May this dark grief flower with hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us, to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love, until we see your beautiful face again, in that land where there's no more separation, where all our tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Take as long as you need here in your Shavasana. And when you wake up, take a few moments to gaze into your candle. Drawing in the warmth. Dhanyavad.